Hello, it's Di here from Your Voice Matters TV with Di Riddell, the place to be for your voice to be heard, valued, and know that it matters. Today I have a very special guest with me, Lynda Wharton from New Zealand. Lynda is an amazing, accomplished woman. She's a Chinese acupuncturist and naturopath, and she concentrates today on holistic women's health. And I think that's so terrific because everything gets so splintered these days, and it's a bit of this and it's a bit of that. So someone who can take things from a holistic point of view, I think that's such a huge plus and such a bonus. Lynda has authored 3 women's on holistic health, and she is a mother and a daughter. Her daughter spent a decade struggling with mental health. So that's part of what we're going to be talking about today. We're talking about struggle and adversity across to resilience and growth. So, I'm going to encourage Lynda to share her part of her story regarding that, because that's made such a difference in her life. And all of us face challenges. Challenges are like a bus. There'll always be another one. But we all have a challenge in a different area. And this is one that Lynda has faced and she's overcome. So I am thrilled to have her as my guest this morning. Welcome, a very warm welcome to you, Lynda.
Oh, thank you, Di. Thank you so much. Thanks for the lovely intro. And I feel very honoured that you invited me to come and share with you today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So if we're going to be talking about adversity, struggle to resilience to growth, would you like to share your story, how you grew through your daughter's addiction, or would you just like to start generally talking about the adversity to growth?
Well, maybe I'll share a little bit of my story. And I love your intro where you comment that every single person has a journey of adversity at some stage in their life. And I totally concur with that, because I've been in clinical practice for 35 years, and I've seen tens of thousands of women and heard their stories over that time. And I can tell you, as you know, that whether they turn up in a BMW, a Mercedes, a Tesla, whether they live in the clifftop mansion or whatever, every single one of us has a personal cross or a personal challenge that we're doing battle with. I am coming up to my 6th decade, and so, as it should be, I, like everybody else, have known my struggles along the way. And I guess sitting here now, looking back, probably one of the most, definitely the greatest challenge I've ever faced was being the mother of a child who then became a teenager with mental health issues and life-threatening addiction struggles. So my daughter... This is
such a common story, isn't it? There are so many people will relate to this, because their things have been swept under the carpet, and we look at somebody today and we look at the confident persona that they portray, but that's not always the story. To look at you and look at your calmness, you wouldn't think that you'd had your 10 years of struggle. And that's the whole thing about growth, isn't it? That's how it comes out. So do share.
It really does, and I say when I'm supporting other mothers who are in the active phase of loving a child with addiction, and they're in absolute pieces, and that they turn to me for help and support because they know my story.
Yes.
It's the truth is that you can look at somebody who appears so together and so beautifully turned out, but not only do we all have our challenges and our struggles, but pretty much everybody wears a mask of some sort too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
the same is a great mask.
Yep. So the beautifully calm, beautifully turned out woman behind closed doors, maybe going home and crying. And I certainly was that woman for a lot of years. Now what you see is what you get. I actually, but for a lot of years it was a big struggle.
Yes, yeah, I so understand that, and I think so many of our audience and women out there will relate to that as well.
Yes, I was going to share a little bit of my story with you. So I'm the mother of 2 daughters, And when my youngest daughter was 10, she was the victim of an assault. And I didn't learn about that assault until many years later. And that trauma actually triggered mental health problems in her that led from mild substance abuse to a fully blown meth addiction that was very life-threatening. And so when she started that journey, she was 10 years old, and she used substances from that age until she was 20. And I'm overjoyed to report that she's now 24, and she's been clean and sober of absolutely everything for almost 4 years now.
Oh, what a reason to celebrate. It's so heartwarming to hear stories of success, because we get flooded with drama stories, but when we hear about people who've worked through it, who've grown because of it, and the family have grown because of it, what a joy that is, Lynda. That's just wonderful.
It really is. And you know, not every family is fortunate to have a happy outcome, as we know.
That's right.
But it is wonderful to now be in a position where I can share my story and my daughter's story, and actually be a beacon of hope for other families that are lost in the dark right now.
I think hope is such a big thing. To have something to hang on to, something that to aim for, something to just give you that little bit of solidarity in the midst of drama.
It is everything. And when I was the mother struggling in the dark, the few people I met that were able to share their stories honestly of stories of recovery, or stories of having parented a sick child with mental health problems, that I would hang on to those stories of victory and recovery like they were just the glimmer of light in an ocean of darkness. So hope is a massive incentive to keep going, and a fuel when you feel completely lost.
Absolutely. And I get that so much. And I know when I was going through challenges, how much I learned and appreciated people who travelled a similar journey. Your circumstances mightn't be the same, but the strength and the comfort that you gain from people who've been there, done that, is just indescribable.
Yeah, it really is. It's so important. And I guess that's the one of the gifts of being involved in any kind of recovery group. Like when I was going through that, one of the things that helped me the most was I joined AlAnon, which is a 12-step program for families of alcoholics, not for the alcoholic, but for the families, and just meeting other people who had learnt how to navigate that journey of finding the right balance between loving the addict and being there for them, and not overstepping that mark to the point where you're enabling them. And that's a daily job.
A balancing act, yes. So was it AlAnon or AlAnon that you went to?
Well, I went to AlAnon. My daughter in her recovery went to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and NA, Narcotics Anonymous, but I was supported by AlAnon, in my recovery.
What I found when I was going through the AlAnon thing was the fact that you were taking responsibility for yourself, because you don't understand that you're enabling. You don't understand the part that you are playing along the way.
You really don't. And one of the things I learned during that process, and with my my reading and my learning since, is that addiction is always a whole family disease. So everybody focuses on the addict. Oh, what's wrong with the addict, and we've got to cure the addict. But with one part of the family having an addiction problem, everybody else develops their own dysfunctional coping strategies, and of course enabling is one of them. Enabling being making excuses for them when their boss rings yet again saying they're not at work, and you are tempted to tell that white lie so they don't lose yet another job. And that kind of behavior, it makes us sick, and it certainly doesn't help the addict to recover.
No, I think it makes you as crazy as the addict, because you're trying to second guess them, but of course you can't, because they change the goalposts every day.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's a maelstrom of crazy when you've got somebody in active addiction.
Lovely term, beautiful term. Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who is supporting an addict if they're in that extreme place of chaos right now? What suggestions would you offer them?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I've got some ideas, but one of the things that occurs to me with that question is that the way forward, if you are the parent of an addict, and if that addict is a child, 10 to age 18, for example, I guess your way forward is quite different to you being a fully grown adult and the person you love being a fully grown adult, where you can place a lot more responsibility for recovery on that person. You know, if your addict in your life is a close friend or a husband, I guess you have a choice of whether you even stay. Right? Whereas if the addict in your life is your 11-year-old child, do you really have the choice to say, well, you're on your own now? So
no.
So there's some nuances.
It's a different dynamic.
There's some nuances, but one thing I would say, based on my own experience and a lot of the people I met in the 12-step scene, is that what we tend to do when we love an addict is we completely abandon any shred of self-care, looking after ourselves, and not just looking after ourselves, but actually purposefully setting out to have an enriched and joyful life. That becomes
and that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand.
It really is a battle for survival, not only for the addict, but for the mother of, or the father of, or the partner of. It becomes much more of a fight or flight existence. Can I survive today, and how do I survive today? Whereas that's not what we were created for. That's not why we're alive. And so that took me a long, long time before I was able to claw back, and then actively reclaim space and focus for my own happiness and my own enrichment. So I would definitely say it will take every bit of strength that you have, and it probably will take a recovery group like AlAnon or AlAnon, but it's vital that you actually make yourself a priority in your own life. And that means looking after your own physical and mental health through ensuring that you're having a great diet, that you're exercising regularly, that you are connected with healthy, happy, calm people outside of your chaos bubble, so that you know there is another world out there, and that you can work towards being that person that is happy and calm in spite of loving an addict.
So true. So how did, now to round it off, so how was your personal experience then enhanced by the work that you do with acupuncture and naturopathy?
How was it enhanced by my work?
Your own personal experience. How did that help? How did the work that you do help you in your personal experience?
Yeah, I guess it's interesting, because you would think that the work that I do would have really helped me in my experience, right? Because I've been in practice for years, I've got the degrees and the diplomas and the training. You would think, she's so well resourced to have gone through something like that. And once upon a time, I probably would have agreed with that. But the truth is, when it is actually your child and you're living with overwhelming fear that this is the day when they're going to go, as in lose their life, quite often all of those skills go out of the window. So I had to, with the support of other people, I had to almost relearn the things I knew in terms of applying them to my own well-being. I could still counsel clients and patients how to find their well-being, but actually applying it in my own life and my own house was not actually as straightforward as you would think.
And I think that is such an important thing for you to share, because there are many people who are in a situation like you, successful business women, professionals, and they think that they should be able to handle it, that it's going to be okay. And I think they try harder to put up the facade because they don't want people to see that they're not coping.
Absolutely.
So I think your honest assessment then and sharing that experience is going to help people widely. I think that was, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's a huge part of recovery.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Di. Yeah, I think that the more visible you are in the world, and the more letters you have after your name, and the more mana is attached to your profession and your standing in society, the harder it is to come clean that you're not coping and that you're struggling.
Yes, absolutely. So I applaud you and I thank you. I'm just over the moon that you had the time to spend with me today and to share these thoughts on a subject that, you know, addiction and recovery and growth and resilience. I mean, they're all things that are so prevalent in our world today. And if ever we needed coping skills, today and now is the time.
I second that.
And I think that what you've shared today has offered hope and some coping skills to someone out there who might be suffering from addiction or supporting someone who's in an addiction. So Lynda, thank you for being my guest today. It was so wonderful to have you here and have you share openly about your story, your experience for the service and benefit of others. Thank you.
Thank you, Di. I really appreciate the opportunity, and that's how we heal each other, right? By being vulnerable, letting the mask down, and sharing our reality and our recovery. So thanks so much for the opportunity.
Oh, it was amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Bye for now.
No, hang on. So we've just got we haven't closed off yet. Hold on. So for our audience, you have been watching Your Voice Matters TV with Di Riddell, the place to be for your voice to be heard. Remember that your voice is your human gift. It's a gift that goes on giving if you allow it. Let yours be heard. Cheerio till the next episode.